Jadon Sancho plays like he doesn't want to crease his air forces. He glides across a pitch like a squirrel racing across ice, carrying the ball elegantly yet efficiently. The back of his shoes after the game must be clean because it seems like his heels never touch the floor. With him constantly being on the balls of his feet, he's able to connect the possession dots, creating a ping-pong light ball progression style, which is an asset that I think would have seen him work very well in a Guardiola side. And you do have to wonder how United's failed marquee signings would have fared if they had been under Pep during their prime, and how Sancho would have fared if he was able to work with Guardiola when he was a little bit older at City, rather than being forced to leave for Dortmund in order to seek game time. Pogba in that De Bruyne roaming playmaker role, Mata being moulded into a David Silva-like player, Di Maria instead of Bernardo Silva, a winger who would become a playmaker, Falcao a lethal striker who would have added another bow to his game as Lewandowski did, and Ibrahimovic failed to do under Pep, with Carrick being fully appreciated as Rodri is today, and Rashford finishing the 1920 season with 30 goals for the whole season, just as Raheem Sterling did, and maybe Jadon Sancho instead of Phil Foden would have gone to the 2022 World Cup. Jadon Sancho is an enigma. He hasn't got the pace to be a natural winger, but his lack of physicality means he isn't a central midfielder either, and so that's why despite him being used in a starting central position, usually in a midfield three as of current, I actually think Sancho would be best if he was deployed in the front three, giving him a free role. This could be either as a wide attacker starting wide but drifting in field, or as a false 9 dropping off from the forward line in Roberto Firmino-like fashion, but either way Sancho needs a midfield three as a base behind him, playing either in one of the half spaces in a box midfield or at the top of a diamond. But for inspiration, I think Ten Hag should look to Pep's 08-09 Barcelona side, where Messi was deployed as a false 9, a role he would execute exquisitely in a 6-2 drumming of Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. He was a player who in false 9 fashion would start high but drop off from the forward line, looking to receive the ball in the space behind the Real Madrid midfield, with Eto'o from the right and Henry from the left, two natural strikers playing ahead of him as wide forwards. And it's the same false 9 role that we've seen Jurgen Klopp deploy in his front three, with Firmino the central man and Salah and Mane the wide forwards moving in field early. Jadon Sancho could be used in this false 9 role in a number of different systems. We could see him used alongside two wide forwards like in Klopp's Liverpool or Guardiola's 08-09 Barcelona side, or he could be used as two wider natural wingers like in Pep's Centurion Manchester City side, where Gabriel Jesus was the false 9 dropping off, creating spaces in the back line, not really for the wingers either side of him in the three who would instead hold their advanced wide positions to stretch the back line, but for the two 3/8s either side of him in the form of David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne to burst into. Or maybe Sancho could be used in a box midfield, sitting slightly wider in one of the half spaces alongside someone like Bruno Fernandes, or an idea that I have been thinking that I may release a video on, potentially McTominay as the most offensive central midfielder of the three, pushing up alongside Jadon Sancho, creating almost an advanced midfield double pivot, ahead of a deeper one of Fernandes and Casemiro. And this box midfield shape has been used frequently by Xavi at Barcelona in his 3-2-2-3 and Roberto De Zerbi at Brighton, where he uses a 2-4-2-2 in the build-up phase, which when applied to Ten Hag's side would essentially see United using two wingers as the highest players in the system, with two attacking midfielders dropping deep to create a box shape, with there being a distinct and intentional absence of a centre forward for the opposition centre backs to mark, which will either force one of the centre backs to push high up the pitch, exposing space in the back line, or allow United to have a free man in their half in the form of Jadon Sancho. Or maybe Ten Hag could even use Sancho as a wide midfielder who drifts infield into a central position between the lines, essentially playing as a number 10. Sancho starts from a wide position on the right, with maybe Rashford up front and Garnacho to the left. And so during the build-up phase, the opposition will likely man-to-man press United's 2-3-2-3, with Casemiro the deep single pivot, with Fernandes and either Fred or McTominay ahead, all being man-to-man pressed. And so when United move the ball from De Gea into one of the two centre-backs, Sancho can make a move into a central position between and in behind the opposition's midfield two, who will be pushed up onto Fernandes and Fred, becoming the free man at the top of the diamond, which either drags the opposition's left back into a deep midfield position, or if he holds that position, it will leave Sancho in space, or alternatively, if one of the centre-backs is forced to push out, this will then leave Rashford in a 1v1 against the other centre-back. And so there is a couple of different roles that Sancho could play to get him into central positions, while still offering a defensive structure of a three around him to take the defensive burden off his shoulders. And Sancho is one of those silky yet efficient playmakers who you feel don't really seem to fit in on the flanks, deep in midfield or up front, and so need to be given a free role, which in the modern game is incredibly rarely deployed at the highest level, well at least in comparison to how frequently it was used in the 90s with number 10s like Roberto Baggio or Bergkamp, and in the 80s with players like Maradona and Zico. And so with United not exactly having a natural goal scorer up front with Martial constantly injured, and Weghorst definitely not the answer, I'd like to see Ten Hag experiment with Sancho in a false 9 position, or at least at the top of a midfield diamond before the season's over. As I said in previous videos, I am now doing full video and channel reviews, so if you want me to give you any advice or feedback for a specific video or for your whole channel, you can send an email to atlantisfootball96@gmail.com. But if you just enjoyed the video, you can check the description for more, you can subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when the video comes out, and put your thoughts in the comment section below, and you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, which will be in the description, for more content as well.